Kevin O'Connor, the host of This Old House, and as part of my job as host of that show, we get to show off great institutions.
For millions of homeowners, Kevin O'Connor has been the calm, friendly face, guiding them through the chaotic, dusty, yet rewarding world of renovations on This Old House. For over 2 decades, and still counting, he has helped them to turn their confusion into clarity. And he even made home renovations seem less intimidating and more human. However, these have been widespread rumors recently. After years of stability, fans started to wonder if Kevin was about to close this chapter of his life. Was he really stepping away from the show he helped shape, or was there more behind the headlines? Let's find out. Early life, background, and education. Born and raised in Maplewood, New Jersey, Kevin O'Connor grew up in a house with 7 children, 4 brothers, and 2 sisters. Their father was a civil engineer, so Kevin and his siblings would often work on his site from an early age. Unlike most children, young Kevin would most times find himself surrounded by tools, boards, sawdust, and the constant hum of construction. Over the years, he even assisted his father with his projects, helping with tasks like woodworking. These experiences that he had at a very early age planted early seeds of comfort around physical labor in the built environment. Growing up, Kevin and his siblings built things just like many kids build forts, except theirs sometimes used real plywood and 2x4s scavenged from job sites. He has said that working with his hands, building, tinkering, being among beams and tools, felt more natural to him than sitting behind a desk. That practical exposure didn't go away when he grew older. In fact, throughout his college years, he continued doing construction work in the summer, often through his father's projects to earn money and keep his pulse on building. In school, Kevin followed a solid academic path. He graduated in 1986 from St. Benedict's Preparatory School in Newark, New Jersey. After high school, he enrolled at the College of the Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts, where he majored in history and earned a Bachelor of Arts in 1990. Later, wanting to combine his interests in business and strategy, he pursued graduate study at Boston University, earning an MBA in 1999. While many might assume someone passionate about homes would begin in the trades, Kevin's early career took a financial route. After finishing his MBA, he worked at Fleet Bank in their sports finance group. He later moved to Bank of America, where he joined the commercial real estate group, rising through the ranks to senior vice president. When we look at the path Kevin had trod 10, it may seem unusual. Imagine a history major who became a finance executive and later a television host. That is pretty strange. But his personality, which combines his analytical skills with a genuine love for homes and practical work, helped him build a rare bridge between money and masonry. During interviews, Kevin acknowledged that he was able to ask the right questions because of the mindset that the business training helped him develop. He also said that the same training helped him to structure his projects thoughtfully and even communicate clearly. All the skills he gained during business training actually helped him a lot when he finally stepped into the world of renovation TV. In short, Kevin's early life was rooted in The hum of construction. His schooling was rigorous and his early career built his credibility in business. All of which came together to prepare him for the unexpected rise into television. Entry into television through this old house. Kevin's journey from finance executive to one of the most beloved TV hosts did not happen overnight. It was all made possible by an elementary letter and a wallpaper problem. It all began in 2002, when Kevin and his wife Kathleen purchased an 1894 Queen Anne Victorian, north of Boston. That house was a classic fixer-upper. As he has said in interviews, it came with a list of stuff we couldn't figure out on our own. The couple tackled many tasks themselves, but at some point they ran into a hurdle. Layers of old wallpaper they couldn't remove cleanly. At around that same time, Ask This Old House, a spin-off of This Old House, was beginning. They could not tackle the wallpaper issue themselves, so they decided to send a letter to the This Old House team asking for help removing their wallpaper. Thankfully, the show responded. Weeks later, a house call crew, including painting contractor Jim Clark and general contractor Tom Silva, showed up at Kevin's home with cameras in tow, and they arrived under the banner of Ask This Old House. During Season 1, Episode 22, the crew helped Kevin and Kathleen remove wallpaper, rework the walls, and guided them through the process. That appearance was Kevin's first on-camera role for the This Old House family of shows. However, you may be wondering what turned this minor renovation into a pivotal moment in Kevin's life. Well, what made that moment pivotal wasn't just the renovation work. It was Kevin's interaction on camera. While on camera, Kevin had many questions, and his curiosity and ease with the trade experts caught the producer's attention. As recounted in Irish Boston when Jim Clark and Tom Silva arrived, Kevin quickly built rapport, asked thoughtful questions, absorbed instructions, and joined in the work with enthusiasm. Kevin was authentic and curious, and this was exactly what the renovation show needed. So, just 1 month later, the producers of the show called Kevin and asked him if he would love to be the host of This Old House. Initially, Kevin thought it was a temporary offer, and he just assumed he might host for a short term before returning to his finance job. He even went so far as to ask his boss at Bank of America to keep his position open, expecting he might return after the hosting stint. However, after Kevin did a spectacular job hosting, the offer stayed on the table, and he accepted because he actually loved hosting. However, Kevin didn't just step into a vacant chair. Behind the scenes, This Old House's prior host, Steve Thomas, who hosted from 1989 to 2003, was preparing to depart. The producers had been quietly assessing options for Thomas's successor, and Kevin's on-camera presence during the Ask This Old House episode gave them a candidate. So, in April 2003, at the age of 34, Kevin officially became the third host in This Old House history. His debut came with the season 25 premiere. At that moment, what seemed like a homeowner's help request had transformed into a career pivot of enormous proportions, replacing a long-tenure host in a beloved TV show is no small feat. Viewers had come to associate This Old House with names like Bob Vila, the original host who hosted the show from 1979 to 1981-89. And then Steve Thomas, who hosted the show from 1989 to 2003. Kevin's role was not only to take over hosting, but to carry forward the show's legacy while making it his own. In critiques and interviews from that era, comparisons to his predecessors were inevitable. Some viewers wondered whether a former banker could keep up with a show rooted in trade expertise. However, Kevin leaned into his fresh eyes approach and positioned himself as a smart homeowner rather than a seasoned tradesperson. He did so well that during his debut season, he earned an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Service Show Host, an early sign that the choice had resonance. Over time, he steadily built credibility on camera, learning to ask better questions of the tradespeople, deepening his own knowledge, and becoming more confident in guiding projects. He called his role a round-clock tutorial, hopefully for the viewers as well as the homeowners in the episodes. Early on, he didn't pretend to be an expert in every trade. Instead, he played the role of curious and committed host. Kevin's involvement with the This Old House brand goes beyond being the face on screen. He also hosts Ask This Old House, which is how he first entered television and inside This Old House. He serves on the editorial board of This Old House magazine, collaborating on the brand's content and direction beyond TV. Kevin's successes did not stop at being on TV. He went on to do other amazing things that he once thought he would never be able to do. Like in September 2011 when he published his first book, The Best Homes from This Old House. The book highlights standout homes featured on the show over its lifetime and offers fans deeper insight into architecture, renovation challenges, and aesthetic decisions. However, with so much success, Kevin was sure to attract some haters. After all, stepping into a show with decades of history comes with pressure. Critics began arguing that Kevin couldn't fill Steve's shoes. But Kevin didn't shy away from that challenge. Instead, he embraced being a student and using his strengths, curiosity, and communication. Over time, fans watched him gain fluency in trade talk, command contractors' respect, and contribute meaningfully to the projects he oversaw. Another challenge that Kevin had, apart from the critics, was balancing his identity. Kevin came from a finance background, not construction. So he had to prove he belonged in a world of sawdust, framing, plumbing, and vintage materials. He gradually evolved from novice homeowner to seasoned novice, learning trade strategies, and asking more thoughtful questions. He once said that one of the most significant shifts in his approach has been moving from just asking what is being done to how and why. He dived deep to understand the methods, materials, and choices used in interrogation. It was a risky move, but that risk paid off. Kevin's relatability, sincerity, and willingness to learn won over audiences. His background in business also gave him the tools to frame renovation project decisions around cost, timelines, value, and bridging the gap between technical trades and regular homeowners. The story of how Kevin O'Connor stepped into television is one of those stories that not only sounds Lucky but inevitable. He was just a simple homeowner who made a request, and that request became his audition. Soon, producers recognized something rare in him: his genuine curiosity, communication skills, and sincere interest in homes. What began as a modest vision of hosting temporarily soon grew into a lifelong mission. He stepped into this old house not to mimic his predecessors, but to bring his own voice, which was that of an attentive learner standing shoulder to shoulder with trade experts. Over time, he didn't just become a host. He became part of the show's fabric, leading Ask This Old House, sitting on the magazine's editorial board, and writing his own book. Career, influence, milestones, and achievements. Before we can do a deep dive into Kevin's career, we first need to do an intense dive into the deep roots that this old house already had. As we all know, the show was first aired in 1979. And over the past decades, the show has been able to build a reputation for being authentic, having depth, and being a professional craftsmanship show. Now, under Kevin's tenure, which has spanned over 2 decades, this old house has not only sustained that legacy, but grown in reach and ambition. It's no small feat. Truly, because Kevin is now the longest running host of the show. He took over in 2003 and has stayed on ever since. Under his leadership, this old house has evolved from being just a television show into a whole multi-platform home enthusiast brand. It now touches millions of people each month through its TV programs, magazine, digital channels, streaming, podcasts, and live events. The show's spin-offs and sister projects have expanded its footprint. Beyond this old house itself, Kevin also leads Ask This Old House, which began as a way for homeowners to seek direct help, and where Kevin first appeared on camera. However, over the past few years, the show has developed deeper content, embraced newer technologies, and still managed to remain relevant without losing its roots. When he goes on interviews, Kevin most often talks about how while their filming style, pacing, and even their delivery have been modernized, the show's core mission remains to guide real homeowners through real renovations. Given the number of awards the show has won, most people have been unable to deny its influence. So far, this old house and all its related shows have received 117 Emmy nominations, and as of 2022, they have won 20 Emmy Awards. In April 2022, this old house was honored with a Lifetime Achievement Emmy. That recognition wasn't for one season. It was for decades of consistent contribution. At that 49th Daytime Emmy ceremony, which took place on the 18th of June, 2022, the show's award was framed as honoring the many hands, including Kevin, Tom Silva, Norm Abram, Steve Thomas, and others who built its credibility over time. On top of that, in recent years, this old house continues to be nominated for other Emmy categories like